This journey's been long for you. You were awarded a championship belt. You were stripped of it.
We all know the story. One's the champion. One was the interim champion. Got injured. Came back.
You guys have no idea the stuff that I went through.
You've overcome a lot to get where you are right now.
I want to keep going.
This leaves you in a #1 contender position, so please give us your thoughts on where that stands.
I'm here to go after the real belt.
You feel like 5th time's the charm? Do we have to see that fight now?
Do not forget about me.
What do you think is next for Khabib?
We have to stop talking about what's next for Khabib when he has Tony Ferguson in front of him.
Tony Ferguson is next in line for the fight.
You said that this fight is important for your legacy.
Your legacy.
Now it seems like the fight with Tony is getting more and more personal.
Like fighter, he's a very good fighter, but why people don't like him? Because he's stupid guy.
This is the 5th time they have tried to make the fight over the last 4 years.
Belts aside, money aside, you guys are widely considered to be the 2 best guys in your weight class for years now. With all the fights you've missed, you would fight in the mountains, you would fight in the middle of the street against each other.
In street fight, I can eat you. You understand?
I'm going to go out there and I'm going to outwork this guy.
We'll see. April 18.
When's the last time we saw 2 of the greatest in the division's history up against each other in their primes? This is that sort of competitive greatness that we rarely will ever be able to see. That is special.
I respect the skill. That's why you're here, you know, like biggest fight on the year.
The fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson is between the 2 greatest lightweights of all time.
The longest win streaks in UFC lightweight division's history going up against each other.
Now we're here on the line belt.
I'm here right now. This guy just needs his first loss.
I want to smash this guy.
The surgeon, the boogeyman, Tony Ferguson, who makes everybody believe is fighting the guy who's never been cut before, the invincible one in Khabib.
UFC 249 will also give us a rematch between 2 former UFC strawweight champions. Namajunas will take on a very dangerous opponent in Jessica Andrade, who took the belt from Rose at UFC 237. Obviously, Andrade taking her loss to Zhang Weili in her first title defense.
I'm here with former champion Jessica Andrade.
Since their last losses, neither Jessica Andrade or Rose has fought.
I'm just grateful for another chance to face my fears.
It's time for the rematch, so we're going to see something very special on that night.
I just want to use my gift of martial arts to try to make this world a better place.
No woman in UFC history has won more fights than you.
Get ready for an electrifying event as the UFC serves up the most needed and anticipated fight in the history of mixed martial arts.
Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. This event is going to be one of the most anticipated cards of the year.
Sign up to fight a hitman. Now I got a worthy opponent.
Where you at, boy?
I'm right here at your front doorstep.
We're here today, and we're going to make this fight happen at UFC 249.
Who win this fight is gonna be the greatest lightweight ever.
It begins and ends.
Undisputed, undefeated.
How's it going, everybody? AZ Plow 21 back with more WMMA. And ladies and gentlemen, it's fight night. It's time for the pay-per-view. It's UFC 249, Khabib versus Ferguson. Big thank you to everyone who has been watching the save thus far. This has been the most fun I've ever had recording content of any kind, and it's all kind of led to this right here. Our first of hopefully many pay-per-views that I will be able to bring to all of you guys. and I am super excited to be able to bring it for you. A big shout out once again to Axiom Films, who is the creator of the promo that you just saw. I did not make it at all. All the credit in the world goes to him. Great promo for what is going to be an amazing pay-per-view, what should have been an amazing pay-per-view. UFC 249, Khabib versus Ferguson. As always, I'm AZPlow21. Let's get things started on pay-per-view night. Saturday, week 3, May 2020. Wishing all of you guys a happy Cinco de Mayo. It's now May 6th where I'm at. Let's go ahead and take a look at our emails. Chad Laprice has extended his deal with us. That is just great. Let's go ahead and take a look at the fight card. Of course, our main event of the evening is Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson for the UFC Lightweight Championship. And there you can see our pay-per-view providers: DirecTV Latin America, Main Event, ESPN Plus, and Eurosport Russia. However, I am very happy to report that we actually have a couple more pay-per-view broadcasters that we have signed up. So we got Cine Plus from Europe, as we add them right there, and then go ahead and go down until we find them. There they are. Sky Sports Box Office as well. And let's see, is there another one that I'm missing? Viewer's Choice from Canada. Alrighty. BT Sport, no. Okay, and so then one thing that we are going to be doing, as you can see there underneath the broadcast coverage details, where you see Russia, where there is currently no pay-per-view provider that is willing to negotiate with us in Russia. But seeing as it is a Khabib fight, it is very imperative that we allow the Russian audience to be able to see this fight. So we're going to give it to them 100% for free. So the Russian audience is going to be able to see it on Eurosport Russia for free. Just kind of like they were able to watch the Khabib fight when he fought against Poirier. I think that was broadcasted on, I believe, Russia's #1 broadcast station, just so everyone can see the Khabib fight. And it was kind of a really big deal in Russia. So, I mean, kudos to everyone that was involved in making that happen. I'm sure the Russian public were super stoked about that. We are in California. If we had to be specific, I'd probably say either the Staples Center or the Honda Center. Of course, Ferguson is from Southern California, so it is a little bit of a home court advantage for him. But of course, Khabib, he's a star no matter where he goes. So more than likely, he has his fair share of fans following him as well. And so once again, I am super happy to be able to bring this to you guys. UFC 249. I'm just super stoked. So let's go ahead and get things started. Once again, the main card, Khabib versus Tony. And we've moved the co-main events around, so it's now Frankie Edgar and Uriah Faber in the co-main event. We have Korean Zombie taking on Brian Ortega for a title eliminator in the featherweight division. We also have Rose Namajunas taking on Jessica Andrade, as you saw in the promo, which is a rematch of a former strawweight championship fight. And then we have Edmund Shabazian taking on Kelvin Gastelum. That is our main card. That is what we are here for. UFC 249, Khabib versus Ferguson. So we're going to get right into the pay-per-view here. And then after the pay-per-view, I'm going to go ahead and give you my thoughts on the real-life UFC 249, which is, unfortunately, Ferguson versus Gaethje. Still a very packed card, a card that I'm super excited about, actually. I am super down to buy the pay-per-view, spend my entire Saturday watching some MMA, and I'm happy to do just that. It's been a while since we've been able to consume any type of sport, really, in a live format, so I'm just happy that we're able to go out and see something here. All right, so all of our broadcasters are in order. The promo's been played. The crowd is hyped up. It's time. It's time. It's time. UFC 249. Let's go. Of course, in California, there is our main card. Of course, we have a 10-fight preliminary. As let me just make sure that everything is up and recording nicely. We are good to go. And Khabib versus Ferguson is underway. Let's go ahead and get started with our first prelim of the afternoon. Cynthia Calvillo taking on Virna Kakara Jandiroba. All right, Cynthia Calvillo 8-1-1 taking on Jandiroba, 15-1. I'm going to go ahead and take Jandiroba. Of course, a phenom in Invicta she was. I think she's just going to be a little bit too much for Calvillo. Let's see what happens. And in fact, it is actually Jandiroba who wins in the second round via rear naked choke. The submission gets it done for the Brazilian. So Jandiroba showing up nicely here on this big stage on pay-per-view, and she gives respect to her opponent. Up next, we have another women's fight as it's Brianna Van Buren taking on Ashley Yoder. Yoder 7-5, but heavily favored against the 26-year-old in Brianna Van Buren. 9-2 and 7 inches to the advantage of Yoder. Very skinny in that 5'7" frame. Both California girls and both looking to get a win here. I mean, it looks like the experience might be a little bit too much for Van Buren, and that 7 inches is definitely going to be a factor. As, in fact, TKO in round number 1, Ashley Yoder dispatches of Brianna Van Buren in quick fashion, and the 32-year-old improves to 8-5. Ashley Yoder wants to fight against Viviane Pereira. Very interesting. That is who she is calling out. So she wants to take on Viviane Pereira in her next contest. Up next, we have Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez as he takes on Luigi, the Italian stallion, Vendramini. All right, Vendramini, 8-1, the Italian stallion, but fighting out of Brazil. And then California's own Rodriguez, 11-1, fighting out of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, a stablemate of Tony Ferguson, training with Eddie Bravo. I'm going to go ahead and go for a little bit of the upset here. I'm going to go for Daniel Rodriguez to get it done in his hometown. It says he's a brawler against Jiu-Jitsu. You never know what can happen. I'm going to go ahead and pick Daniel, see what happens. And it's actually a unanimous decision victory for the Italian stallion, Luigi Vendramini. He improves to 9-1. Daniel Rodriguez now 11-2. It seems like it was somewhat of a boring fight, so I'd imagine he was kind of just grappling for the majority of the time. So Luigi getting a nice win there. The young 24-year-old improving to 9-1. Next up, we have Jonathan Johnny Bravo Wilson taking on Modestas Bukauskas. Bukauskas coming in at 10-2 out of Denham, England. And then San Bernardino's own Johnny Bravo Wilson. Very even contest here. Very even when it comes to, I mean, their height, obviously their weight, their experience level are both kind of the same. Mixed martial artists versus mixed martial artists. It's really a who's who, and it's really a pick'em at this point. No one can really tell you what exactly is going to happen in this one. I'm just going to go with the hometown boy, California born. I'm going to pick Johnny Bravo Wilson to take it. And it is, in fact, Johnny Bravo via unanimous decision. Turns out it was a good fight. You like to see that. As he would like to face Ray Sloan in his next fight. Up next, we have Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series alumni, as he takes on Charles Kid Dynamite Bird. Of course, Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, 7-1-1. One win in his UFC career already against a very veteran Charles Bird. 10-6 his record. I'm going to go with the younger Fluffy Hernandez here to take the win. And he does via TKO in round number 3. 1 minute and 1 second into that final round. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez is able to get it done. So now 2-1 in his UFC career, as he dispatches of the 36-year-old Bird. And who knows? Maybe we might have to cut Bird after this. 10-7 isn't exactly the best record to be working with. Andre Muniz is who he wants to face off against next. Anthony Hernandez. All right, we have another women's match up next, as it's Marion Renault taking on Betch Correia. Betch Correia, of course, a former Bantamweight Championship contender and challenger. The 42-year-old Renault is favored, actually, to Correia. I'm going to take Correia in this one. Just the youth, 6 years, 42 years old. Not sure if there's going to be really much in the tank, as Marion actually wins via unanimous decision in what was apparently a decent contest, so probably a little boring, probably a lot of grappling, you would imagine, but Renault able to get it done at age 42. And you have to wonder if she's going to call it quits here. 10-5-1 is now her record. And no, she's going to stay fighting. 10-5-1, 42 years of age, and she praises Correia for a tough fight. All right, another women's fight underway, as it's Rebel Girl Ashley Evans Smith taking on Mackenzie Dern, Big Mac Dern, some people like to call her. Of course, having a little bit of trouble making weight early on in her UFC career. But I mean, who can deny a face and a body like that? Mackenzie Dern at it again, 7-1 after losing to Rebus, her only loss in her young career. 350 favorite is Mackenzie Dern, and I am going to pick her against Ashley Evans-Smith. And she does get it done via submission. Americana early on in round number 1, rated as a great fight. So Mackenzie Dern improving to 8-1, and she still looks beautiful as ever. And she has respect for the skills of Priscilla Cachoeira, and she wants to fight her. She saw her win in a fight night earlier on. I think in a couple episodes ago, Cachoeira was on a fight night, and she won her fight. And now apparently Mackenzie Dern wants to test her skills. And TJ Hockey, always nice to see you. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for joining us in the stream for UFC 249. Evan Dunham taking on Jim Miller in a prelim contest here. 18-8-1 is Evan Dunham against another veteran in Jim Miller. 31-14-1. Very hard to tell. Both wrestling guys, both jiu-jitsu guys. Very hard to tell what's going to happen. Both veterans. Jim Miller shorter by 2 inches, but not necessarily much going on. I'm going to go ahead and take Evan Dunham. I'm just going to say that little bit of not rustiness in Jim Miller, but he's kind of had a little one too many fights maybe. I'm just going to go ahead and pick Evan Dunham just straight off the dome, and he does win by split decision. So a very close fight, and Evan Dunham is able to get it done. And he would like to fight Lando Venata. So groovy Lando Venata is who Evan Dunham would like to face off next. Once again, you're watching UFC 249. Still the main card left to go. And we still have our prelims going on here as it's Cub Swanson taking on Ricardo Lamas. Yeah, the gatekeepers, both of those guys. One could say Cub Swanson is a gatekeeper of the featherweight division. But actually both of these guys, honestly, are kind of considered gatekeepers. So battle of the gatekeepers, I guess you could say, in Ricardo Lamas, a very storied UFC career. Cub Swanson, hot off his victory against Kron Gracie, able to, take participation in this amazing pay-per-view we got going on. I'm going to go ahead and say Cub Swanson takes it. I'm going to say he takes it via submission. And he does win, but via unanimous decision in what was rated as a good fight. So Cub Swanson improving to 27-11, and Ricardo Lamas almost in the double digits in the loss column. All right, he would like to face off against Shane Burgos. Shane Burgos is actually in the top 15, so we'll have to check and see where Cub Swanson is at now. But Shane Burgos, he's calling out. I mean, if Shane Burgos is down for the task, I do believe that he has something scheduled, but that could be something that we look at doing in the near future. And our featured prelim here for UFC 249, Mauricio Shogun Hua as he takes on Glover Teixeira. All right, Glover Teixeira, 40 years of age, both, pretty old guys. Teixeira coming off 3 straight wins over Carl Robeson, Yon Cutelaba, and Nikita Krylov. And Shogun Hua, 38 years of age, though he does look a lot older than that. Coming off that draw with Paul Craig, a win from Tyson Pedro, and a loss to Anthony Smith. Off the dome, I'm thinking Shogun Hua, but I mean, Glover Teixeira's kind of been on a tear. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up taking it as well. The last of the prelim fights, Shogun Hua and Glover Teixeira, and it is Shogun Hua who takes it via unanimous decision in what was rated as an average fight, so not very exciting. So Shogun kind of grinding that victory. But nonetheless, Shogun still able to get it done, 27-11 and 11 now. His win tally, Glover Teixeira, 40 years of age, drops to 30-8. And Mauricio Shogun Hua wants to party with everybody. Are you going to Shogun's party? I know I probably am. And so here we go. The main card of UFC 249. Face the Pain is playing in the background. Bruce Buffers, all the pomp and circumstance. We are live. In the blue corner, we have Edmund Shabazian, the young 26-year-old. And we have Kelvin Gastelum, of course, former Ultimate Fighter winner and veteran of the UFC. Kelvin Gastelum heavily favored against Edmund Shabazian. That betting line was not that big when I booked the match. It was around 200. Clearly, the bookies must see something that we don't about Kevin and Edmund. Just 22 years of age is Edmund Shabazian, getting his pay-per-view action going on here against a very tough test in Kelvin Gastelum. Perhaps too tough of a test. Might lose his 0-11-0 hometown boy in Los Angeles, California. Kelvin Gastelum, not too far away from Northern California in San Jose. If I had to guess, I'm going to go with Kelvin here. Of course, obviously you guys are not going to be able to, do the live chat. Only the Twitch people are going to be able to do that. But I'd imagine you guys are coming up with who you guys think are going to win. And that's actually a good idea. Take a second to go down into the comments section, pause the video, and before you even watch the rest of the main card, give off who you think are going to win. So pause at like the beginning of the video where the main card is shown and give who you think are going to win in the main card fights. We have Edmund Shabazian taking on Kelvin Gastelum. I'm going to say Kelvin Gastelum, probably just the experience is going to be a little bit too much. And in fact, it's by split decision though. So split decision, but Kelvin Gastelum does beat Edmund Shabazian. So the 22-year-old probably going to have to work his way back up a little bit. Kelvin Gastelum gets a good win inside of the top 15 to able to keep himself in the rankings and keep himself steady as he tries to climb his way back towards another championship fight. And so we saw it in the promo. Thug Rose Namajunas looking to get back to her strawweight crown, and also looking to get back to her strawweight crown is Jessica Andrade. Both these two met, of course, in Brazil for the strawweight championship, and Jessica Andrade just dunked Thug Rose right on top of her head, winning the championship in the process. Of course, Andrade losing her title to Zhang Weili in China. But both these girls fighting it out. And the winner will, in fact, face Zhang Weili for the championship at a date to be determined. So Andrade versus Thug Rose. Who do you guys think is going to win? It looks like Thug Rose is favored just so slightly. I am going to go ahead and pick Thug Rose. 3 inches on Jessica Andrade. Not the best record, 8-4 to 20-7, but I do think that Thug Rose is going to come out on top. We're going to see who wins in 3, 2, and 1. And in fact, yes, Thug Rose Namajunas beats Jessica Andrade via submission 4 minutes and 20 seconds into round number 2. All right. And Thug Rose is just very happy. Nothing else to say about that. TJ Hockey, that's a tough pick. Thought Andrade was going to win. It's all right. We never always hit our bets. It is what it is. I've lost plenty of money to some bets in my time. Now, a fight that is very interesting. I think I made a bet with a Twitch follower about this fight. So we have Brian T. City Ortega fighting out of the blue corner, taking on Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung fighting out of the red corner. All right, let's go ahead and take a little deeper dive into both of these. I was going to say young men. Brian Ortega's young, but I mean, 33 is still considered young. Brian Ortega, of course, coming off the loss to Max Holloway. The last time he fought was December of 2018. Of course, the wins over Frankie Edgar, Cub Swanson, Moicano. So having a good career thus far is Brian Ortega. But I mean, if anyone's going to stop him, it might be Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. Jay Park, of course, one of his homies, got slapped around by Brian Ortega. I was actually at that fight card at UFC 245 when he got slapped around. It was a sight to behold for sure. But yeah, we're going to see exactly what happens here. Beating Moicano, beating Frankie Edgar, losing to Yair Rodriguez literally at the last second. He was winning that fight. TJ Hockey going with T-City, his featherweight champ. You love to see it. So I mean, I have $5 riding on this. I think I went with Korean Zombie. But let's go ahead and see what exactly happens. Simulating in 3, 2, and 1. And Brian T. City Ortega defeats the Korean Zombie via submission in round number 1. Wow. So Brian T. City Ortega getting the dub, beating Korean Zombie, and more than likely setting himself up for a featherweight championship opportunity in the near future. It was a great fight, apparently. Submission getting it done for T-City. And he would like to fight Alexander Volkanovski. And he is the champion. So, I mean, who's to blame him for that? You know, he has definitely proven that a big fight here against Korean Zombie, definitely worthy of a championship opportunity, you would think. But that is not until we find out what happens, because we do have Volkanovski taking on Max Holloway in their rematch. That's in a couple, I want to say that's in a pay-per-view from now. I'm not 100% sure, but we do have to see what goes on with that. Because if Volkanovski wins, obviously Brian Ortega would be next in line. But if Max Holloway wins, maybe we do a rematch if the fight is good enough, if it builds enough buzz, if it draws at the pay-per-view box office. You know, you never really know. It's kind of an organic thing that this happens with. We just will have to see. But Brian Ortega setting himself up for a title shot in the near future. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived to our co-main event of the evening. Former champion Frankie the Answer Edgar taking on the California Kid Uriah Faber here in California. California love buzzing throughout the entire arena. Everybody's loving it. Uriah Faber, always a fan favorite, just like Frankie the Answer Edgar. Both veterans of the sport, both future legends and Hall of Famers. I'm going to go ahead and go with Uriah Faber. He's 2 years older than Frankie Edgar, but I think Frankie Edgar's kind of just taken one too many knockouts, you know. I think Uriah Faber's, you know, up to the task here. I do think he's going to be able to pull off this win. We're going to go ahead and simulate in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And it is the hometown boy, the California Kid, Uriah Faber, via unanimous decision in what was apparently a great fight. And the 40-year-old California Kid able to get it done, improving his record to 36-11. So congrats to Uriah Faber. What's next to be seen for Frankie Edgar, we don't know. But he wants to fight Cody Stamann. That's very interesting, because Cody Stamann does not have a lot of popularity. So that's a fight that I would very much be interested in doing, and maybe it could even main event a fight night. You never know. But Uriah Faber able to get it done here on pay-per-view, and that brings us to our main event of the evening for the undisputed UFC Lightweight Championship of the World. In the blue corner, we have a freestyle fighter holding a professional record of 25 wins with 3 defeats. He stands 6 feet tall, weighing in at the lightweight limit of 155 pounds. Fighting out of Oxnard, California, Tony El Cucuy Ferguson. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, a mixed martial artist holding a perfect undefeated professional record of 28 wins with no defeats. He stands 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighing in at the lightweight limit of 155 pounds. Fighting out of Dagestan, Russia, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC Lightweight Championship of the World, Khabib, the Eagle, Nurmagomedov. All right. So the fight that everybody would absolutely love to see in real life, the fight that I want to see in real life, the fight that I went to the press conference for when I went to UFC 245, fully expecting, or UFC 248, I should say, fully expecting this fight to happen in Brooklyn. It sucks. You know, it really does suck. But here we are, able to live, you know, it's not the real thing, but it's a little bit of a taste. Khabib, the Eagle Nurmagomedov versus Tony El Cucuy Ferguson for the UFC Lightweight Champion. Who do you think is going to win? Put it down in the comments. Let it be known in your thoughts. And here we go. Of course, the first of 5 5-minute rounds. And the fans love Tony. Deliberately does not touch gloves. Ferguson. Oh, Khabib going for a takedown attempt. Ferguson does pull guard. Remember, Ferguson's really good with the jiu-jitsu. Khabib doesn't necessarily have the advantage simply because he has him on the ground. Khabib doing a little bit of ground and pound. A little bit of a lack in progress. So Khabib going for another takedown. He does get it. Ferguson pulls guard. His second takedown of the first round already. And he's just smothering him. And he ends up on top at the end of the round. So Khabib probably took that round going for, you know, those takedowns like he was. Ferguson trying to strike. And Khabib not necessarily going for the stand-up. Ferguson once again gets taken down, pulling guard, and he's just smothering him up. 2.5 minutes gone in the second round, and it's just Khabib smothering him and staying in the guard. He passes guard now, side control now, stuck under side control, trying to get in an arm triangle. No danger. Ferguson is able to avoid it. Khabib pounds away on Ferguson, once again using that patented Khabib ground and pound, and once again apparently ends up on top and wins the second round. So once again, a takedown attempt from Khabib. He's able to get it. Now, Khabib really does have success when he's able to get his guys up against the fence. So it's not just necessarily, so against the cage, Ferguson pressed up against the cage, a little bit of dirty boxing. Ferguson moves in on Khabib. Khabib lands a left. And you want to watch out for those little red markers because that dictates whether, a big strike. Ferguson moves in for the kill. Ferguson defends the takedown attempt, so he had Khabib staggered for a second. Here in this third round, as the round 3 expires, apparently it still went to Khabib. Ferguson did have him staggered, though, for a second. Ferguson able to stuff a takedown attempt. Ferguson gets smothered up against the cage. This is not looking good for El Cucuy. Gonna have to get something going. More than likely, gonna have to finish the fight if he wants to win the championship. Ferguson with a left jab. Tries to go after him with a combo. Khabib tries to set up a suplex attempt. Can't get him to the ground. Khabib muscling him up against the cage. End of the round coming. 4 rounds nearly gone. Wow. So Khabib is just pressuring Ferguson the entire fight. Ridiculous. As the 4th round is going to end, and apparently it's a Khabib 10-9. So it looks like Ferguson's going to have to pull off some kind of stoppage in order to win. You never know with Tony. Looking for some kind of suplex. He gets him to the ground. Gets into side control. Knee strike to the ribs. Another one. Khabib holding Ferguson down, just smothering him, keeping him in his control. It's not looking good for El Cucuy. Khabib with 2 minutes left to go. The 5th round nearly gone. This championship main event's almost done. 27 seconds left to go. They stand him up. And with 16 seconds left to go, it's too little too late for Ferguson as Khabib gets a last takedown into the end of the fight. And that is the end, as we are going to stop the timer right there. We have the official scores, and I don't think it's going to be pretty here for Tony Ferguson. It looked like Khabib had him smothered and had him dominated for the majority of the fight. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 50-45. But let's go ahead and take a look at the scores. Ladies and gentlemen, after 5 rounds, we go to the judges' scorecards for decision. The judges score the contest 49-46, 50-45, and 49-46 for the winner by unanimous decision. And still, the undisputed UFC lightweight champion of the world, Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. Well, a little bit underwhelming, I will say. So, unanimous decision, just basic Khabib smash on Tony Ferguson, and he's able to retain his lightweight championship. So, Khabib makes his 3rd defense of the lightweight title, and the fight was rated as being decent. Now, the fight probably wasn't that great critically, but I'd imagine commercially it did really well. Because of Ferguson, because of Nurmagomedov, a lot of eyes were surely drawn to this fight. I'm expecting that we made at least $15 million in pay-per-view revenue. Anything lower than that, I'd be pretty disappointed. But that's the end of that's the end of the fight. Khabib is still the champion. He celebrates having the title still around his race. I just want to thank... I can't do a Khabib impersonation. I'd sound probably messed up. But he thanks Father Plan, I want to thank my coach Javier Mendez. I want to thank my boy DC. I want to thank my boy Islam, Abubakar, everyone in the corner. All glory to God. Alhamdulillah, all glory to God. Khabib, still the lightweight champion of the world. Who is to fight him next? That is to be seen, as we have 12,500 in attendance, and wow. Yikes. So the gate did amazingly. We made $2,500,800 at the gate, But somehow, for some reason, we only made $1 million off of pay-per-view. I don't get that, especially when the commercial rating is 98. Surely, that will change in the near future, because this is the most anticipated fight in UFC history. So the fact that we're going to make a pretty big loss on this fight card sucks. But the good thing is our popularity is increasing. So that is definitely going to help us when it comes to how many people watch our shows and how many people buy the pay-per-views down the line. And as you can see there, a very good idea by me to have that for free in Russia. The popularity increased by 3.6% in Russia, 2.1% in the US, 1.8% in the UK, 2% in Europe, 2.7% in Mexico, 2.3% in Canada, 2.7% in Latin America, 2.3% in Brazil and Colombia, just South America kind of thing, and then 1.8% in, and then 1.8% in Australia. So now it's time to hand out our fight of the night and performance of the night bonuses. Reminder, we don't do KO of the night. We don't do submission of the night. So let's go ahead and see who we can possibly give some of these out to. So fight of the night, it looks like they're trying to give it to Faber versus Edgar, and that looks like it'd be okay. And that looks like it actually was the fight of the night. Wow, okay. So there wasn't a single excellent or fantastic fight on the card. That's kind of a bummer. But nonetheless, we'll go ahead and give the fight of the night to Faber and Edgar. Performance of the night bonus, I see one that we're going to give out right now. First round submission, Brian Ortega gets a performance of the night bonus. And let's go ahead and take a look here. Any TKOs or knockouts? Submission in round 2, Ashley Yoder, TKO. I'm thinking Jandaroba. Everything else, a lot of decisions. Jeez. Anthony Hernandez with a TKO. Anything end in round 1 here. Brian Ortega, obviously. Rose Namajunas, she's already getting a lot of money. We don't need to give her any more. Beating up on Jessica Andrade. So let's go ahead and give the performance of the night to Mackenzie Dern with her first round submission over Ashley Evans Smith. I'm always down to give a little more cheddar to my baby Mackenzie Dern. Just don't tell Macy Barber that I said that. All right, so those are our of the night awards that we've handed out. Fight of the night, Uriah Faber, Frankie Edgar. Performance of the night bonuses to Brian Ortega and Mackenzie Dern. So that is UFC 249, and it turns out that we actually did make a profit on the event, just nowhere near the amount of money I would have liked to make. $1.8 million profit is not going to help us a lot when we're trying to get to 150 million. And the only way that we're really going to get to 150 million is if we sell a lot of pay-per-views. And for whatever reason, this pay-per-view just didn't sell. And it could just be because it's the first pay-per-view on the save. Our next pay-per-view hopefully is able to do a little bit better, considering it has had a good amount of time to get build behind it. And we're going to do just that. We're going to take a look at our pay-per-view that we have coming up. We're going to take a look at the fight cards that we have coming up. And then we're going to take a look at UFC 249 in real life, which is happening this Saturday. And I'm going to give my thoughts and my predictions on those fights. But Khabib Nurmagomedov, still the lightweight champion of the world. I can't say I'm disappointed. I figured it would kind of happen like that. It's just kind of disappointing to not see a knockout or a submission or, something. At least he was able to finish Poirier. You know what I mean? But just a unanimous decision victory. Kind of just, plain old Khabib. It is what it is. So it's going to be curious to see what we do with Tony after this as well, and how long Khabib is going to be out for. And one thing that I do want to keep in mind when it comes to Khabib and any of the Muslim fighters in the UFC for that matter, I do want to observe Ramadan and keep and respect their traditions, So I'm going to make sure that I don't schedule any Muslim fighters in Ramadan. So that's something that I want to adhere to. Obviously, they wouldn't do it in real life, and I'm trying to be as realistic as possible, so I won't do it here either. So if we take a look and see when exactly Ramadan is, so Ramadan 2020, and it is, oh, whoops, hold on, I think I just messed up. Apparently, Ramadan this year is April 23rd through May 23rd. So I literally just broke my promise just now in checking Ramadan. So let's say that this is May 24th that we just had this fight. Let's just pretend that that's what happened. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get into the rest of what we're doing here. We're going to head into our main page, check out our next fight cards, and then we're going to go ahead and talk about UFC 249. But a lot more going on, of course, and I do thank you guys for joining me, whether it's on Twitch or whether it's on YouTube. I do thank you guys for joining me, and I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I'm having a lot of fun, putting together these videos for you guys. It's a lot of fun, and I really do enjoy it. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see any fighters, if you want any updates on fighters, if you have any ideas for me. I did mention in a couple of videos ago that our first international pay-per-view is going to be in London, UK, and we are going to go on a little bit of a tour around London, so that way we can have some fight nights around there, get some of the European fighters some fights, even though they might not be on that pay-per-view. And then we'll obviously get some English fighters on that pay-per-view, and Conor McGregor will be main eventing that card. We do have a couple more cards in mind and a couple title fights in mind, but I'm debating whether or not I want to put title fights together or whether I want to save them and only do like one title fight at a time. We also have a title fight that's booked for an ESPN fight card. That's Davison Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez. That fight is for the flyweight championship. That is to be seen a little bit later on, however, and we will get there when we get there. But I'm just super excited for the rest of this save. Our first pay-per-view is in the books. Didn't make as much money, obviously, as I would have liked to. I had to turn on auto renewal. Most of my roster was in negotiations. Yeah, that kind of sucks sometimes. I do like auto renewal just because it kind of takes away the bother of having to go through all the decisions and manually accept the contract offers. That's why I like it. And it's not going to be a bother for me because I'm not doing Invicta yet. And so with Invicta, I would have to obviously sign them, but keep tabs on who accepted, because I would have to send them down to Invicta. I would have to send them down to ROC, keep tabs on them, the feeder promotions. All right. So we are all good. We're here at our main menu, Sunday of week 3. Let's go ahead and check our mail first of all. Well, actually, I am now, I'm seeing that Shane Burgos is now injured. Let's see here. So let's check our news first of all. Khabib defends title. Kelly wins title. It's probably going to be a lot of negotiations and things of that nature. Kenneth Berg has joined us. Marcin Vocic unveiled. Good for him. Nothing as far as negotiations or anything of that nature. So nothing that really concerns us. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on here. Everybody's lobbying for this fight. We have a Shane Burgos injury. And I'm going to turn off lobbying for fights because I really don't care necessarily about guys that are lobbying for fights, because I'm going to pick the fight that I think makes sense. There's going to be tons of people that are available for fights anyways. But Shane Burgos is injured. He's not going to be able to fight Josh Emmett at UFC 250. So let's go ahead and just take care of that right now. That is our next pay-per-view, mind you. UFC 250, Usman versus Masvidal. Remember, we have 3 title fights on that card. A huge, huge card that features Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, and Henry Cejudo and Aljamain Sterling. Also, the return of Nate Diaz as he takes on Damian Maia, and then Anderson Silva as he faces Johnny Walker. But we have to take care of this one in the featherweight division. All right, Josh Emmett, number 8. Let's find him someone to face. Andre Fili, coming off a defeat. Not sure how much that makes sense, but we need to find someone who can face him, and maybe Bryce Mitchell would be up for the task. 3-0 in the UFC, 12-0 total. Not sure if Andre Fili would necessarily make sense coming off of a loss. It says that he'd be heavily favored against Emmett, though, so I don't really know. Maybe someone who's coming off a win. My thought right now is Bryce Mitchell. Gavin Tucker, no. Giga Chikadze, no. Alex Caceres, no. Hakeem Dawodu, maybe, but he's a big underdog. Herbert Burns, maybe. Taking a look, trying to find someone on a winning streak. Lerone Murphy, he drew. Luis Pena, Luis Gomez. Looking for someone who will give him an even fight as well. Ooh, Ricardo Ramos. This looks like a very even fight. My boy's on a winning streak. Ooh, Ryan Hall. Ooh, you know what? Let's go ahead and give our boy Ryan Hall another go at it. He defeated Doo Ho Choi in Weidman versus Hall. He was able to get that victory in. So now, and he's also at home. He's home in Nevada. Let's go and give this to Ryan Hall. Give him a crack at Josh Emmett. And he thinks Josh Emmett is too much a step up in competition for him. So he is not willing to do that fight. That sucks. Let's see. Anyone else giving you an even fight? Ryan Hall looked to be the best one. Either him or Ricardo Ramos. Who else was it up here that would have given you a good fight? Was it Bryce Mitchell? Bryce Mitchell's okay. Gavin Tucker. Herbert Burns. All right. It looks like we're going to have to do it this way. Who did I just decide on literally a couple seconds ago? Oh, right. Ricardo Ramos. Okie dokie. Ricardo Ramos saves that fight. And so that's all done and dusted. Time to make sure that no one needs to be renewed. In fact, they do. Cynthia Calvillo. Let's take a look at her, see if we want to keep her around. All right. So she's been around for a while. A lot of wins, a draw, and coming off a loss. We'll go ahead and keep her around. Give her 2 more guaranteed fights. All right, so Cynthia Calvillo sticking around for the foreseeable future. Marion Renault, now 42 years old, coming off a win, though, and apparently ranked very highly in our division. Just beat number 14. So we'll give her 2 more guaranteed fights. There's no guarantee that she's actually going to, fight both of those because she's 42. She could just up and retire at any given moment. All right, Kelvin Gastelum, just coming off the win from Shabazian. Definitely going to keep him around. And I'm going to make sure that I keep him by giving him a nice contract offer. All right, so Kelvin Gastelum looking to re-sign with us. We got a couple guys who are joining us from Cage Warriors. You'll love to see that. Frankie Edgar needs to be re-signed. Let's go ahead and see if we want to keep around Frankie Edgar. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. But, I mean, how can you get rid of Frankie Edgar? So let's go ahead and keep him. We'll give him 3 guaranteed fights. He's making a lot of money to be on the decline, though. So we'll give him 2 guaranteed fights. He doesn't like that, so what about 3? He doesn't like that either. What about 4? He doesn't like that. Wow. What about 3 guaranteed fights or 9 fights non-guaranteed? He doesn't like that. 5 fights, 9 fights not guaranteed. 90. Still not happy. Okay, let's see here. You can be cut for free after suffering a loss. Let's go and add that. But then let's go and up all these bonuses. Let's up some bonuses that are probably not going to happen, like title victory, title defense, title bout bonus, pay-per-view bonus. We'll up that a little bit. And then let's see what he says. All right, cool. He'll do that. So we'll go ahead and do this contract, but after a loss, he can be cut for free. So that's good. All right. And Derek Brunson is re-signed. We love to see that. All right, we're going to go ahead and switch up the rankings, and then we're going to take a look and see what we have going for the next month or so in game, and then we're going to talk some UFC 249. Updating rankings in 3, 2, and 1. All right, no movement whatsoever at heavyweight. Light heavyweight, we got a lot of movement. Shogun Rua moving up to number 11. Gustafsson and Walker moving up. Glover Teixeira dropping down to number 9. At middleweight, Kelvin Gastelum moves up to number 9. And then Carlos Jr., Jotko, Uriah Hall move up. And then Shabazian moves all the way down to 18th. Welterweight, no movement whatsoever. Tony Ferguson drops down to the number 6th contender. Reminder, Conor McGregor or Justin Gaethje will be headlining a pay-per-view, and it will more than likely be deciding who fights Khabib next for the lightweight title. We also have Dustin fighting against Dan Hooker. And if Hooker were to beat Poirier, he would put himself in a really good situation for a title fight in his own right. I mean, that's the number 2 contender in the world. That would be a very solid backup option should Poirier not be able to, or should Conor or Justin not be able to fight. And then you got Kevin Lee coming off the win from Islam, but he's about a win or two away, I'd say, from a title fight, especially after losing to Charles Oliveira. Tony Ferguson, of course, having just lost. Featherweight, Brian Ortega, of course, the number 1 contender, even though Holloway has his title shot already booked. Ortega will have a title shot somewhere down the line. Korean Zombie dropping all the way down to 9th. At bantamweight, we have a new guy in Frankie Edgar. Uriah Faber in at number 12. Everyone else drops off because of it. At flyweight, no movement. No movement at featherweight. At women's bantamweight, Renault moves up to 6. Vieira drops down. Betch Correa drops down to number 15. At flyweight, we have Mackenzie Dern getting into the rankings at number 20. In my save, John Jones almost killed Jan Blachowicz. So speaking of that, we are going to do Jones versus Blachowicz at some point. I'm not sure when, but it is going to happen. Not sure if it's going to main event a pay-per-view, but it is definitely going to be for the light heavyweight championship. So Mackenzie Dern in at number 20. Everyone else moves up as a result. And at strawweight, of course, Rose Namajunas, the number 1 contender against Weili Zhang. Now, we just had our contenders be realized, but how long are they going to be out for? Rose Namajunas, how long are you out for? 20 days. That is awesome. So we don't have too long until Rose comes back. And so that means we can potentially book her title shot against Weili fairly quickly, and I love to see that. Claudia Gadelha coming off the win over Felice Herrig. Alexa Grasso coming off her loss to Carla Esparza. Maybe we do Gadelha versus Grasso in the near future. Maybe that's something we do. Let's see here. Of course, we got to do JoJo versus Valentina. That is probably going to be on... I hate to say it because I'm breaking my own rule, but that is more than likely going to be on that UK pay-per-view card, either as the co-main event, probably as the co-main event for the Conor McGregor fight, sadly. I know that kind of breaks my own rules, but there's no way Conor is not main eventing that show. All right, Aspen Ladd. How long is she out for? She's the number 1 contender for the Bantamweight Championship. Only 20 days for her as well. Love to see that. Amanda Nunes needs something to do. What about Felicia Spencer, our number 1 contender over there? 34 days. So it looks like Aspen Ladd is going to get the first crack at Amanda Nunes. Of course, we got Figueiredo and Benavidez. How long is Pantoja out for? He's kind of a last-ditch scenario. 28 days, so not entirely bad. Marlon Moraes, we have our next contender there. Of course, we have another title fight already booked in the bantamweight division. Featherweight, Brian Ortega. We have the title fight booked, but how long is he going to be out for? 34 days, not too bad. All right, Khabib. Of course, we got Conor and Justin. Kamaru Usman, of course, fighting Jorge Masvidal for the welterweight championship in our next pay-per-view. Israel Adesanya, and that is great. Look at what we have here. Paulo Costa is back, and he is healthy, and I cannot wait to book that title match. That's going to be great. Of course, we got Jones and Blachowicz, and then Stipe Cormier is already booked. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have going on in the next month. UFC on ESPN Fight Night, Overeem versus Dos Santos 2, Overeem versus Dos Santos, RDA versus Gunnar Nelson, Stefan Struve versus Tai Tuivasa, Herman versus Sam Alvey, Gokhan Saki versus Gian Vellante, and Tisha Torres versus Angela Hill. UFC on ESPN Plus Fight Night, Poirier versus Hooker, Dustin Poirier versus Hooker, Yair Rodriguez versus Zabit. We got Wonderboy Thompson versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, Andrei Arlovsky versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima, Michael Johnson versus Francisco Trinaldo, and Sarah McMahon taking on Yana Kunitskaya. Another ESPN Plus Fight Night, Cerrone versus Cowboy Oliveira 2. So, Cowboy versus Cowboy. You love to see it. Fabricio Verdun versus Shamil Abdurakhimov. Rocky Pennington versus Caitlin Vieira. Alexander Rakic versus Nikita Krylov. Ian Heinisch versus Christoph Jotko. And Hussier da Silva versus Dustin Ortiz. Another ESPN Plus Fight Night, Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Tatiana Suarez in the strawweight division. Rafael Assunção versus Jimmy Rivera. Al Iaquinta versus Alexander Hernandez. Matt Brown versus Albert Tumanov. Blagoy Ivanov versus Cyril Gane. And Mirsad Bektic versus Sodiq Yusuff. And then finally, we also have our pay-per-view, UFC 250, Usman versus Masvidal. A huge card with unprecedented amount of amazing fights. 3 title fights and amazing prelims. Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal. Volkanovski, Holloway 2. Cejudo Sterling. Nate Diaz, Damian Maia. Anderson Silva, Johnny Walker. And then in the prelims, we got Piotr Jan, Pedro Munoz. Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stevens. Curtis Blades versus Jair Rosenstrike. Josh Emmett versus Ricardo Ramos. We just made that fight right now. Rob Font versus Marlon Vera. Vicente Luque versus Nico Price. GDR versus Macy Chiasson. Tyson Pedro versus Yuri Prohashka, making his debut from Ryzen. Jessica I versus Lauren Murphy. And then Chase Hooper versus Billy Quarantillo. So that is what we've got going on. Of course, we have a lot of other stuff going on as well. Leading up to UFC 251, Miocic versus Cormier. We are going to wait until we reach the end of May. So after Overeem versus Dos Santos, we can go ahead and book our month of August, which I am certainly excited to do. But as for right now, we're going to go ahead and switch things up. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look at UFC 249. All right. So we have at UFC 249, obviously, at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, USA. We have in the early prelims, Ryan Spann taking on Sam Alvey. My pick is going to be Ryan Spann. I think he did a really good job in his last fight. Sam Alvey has been kind of on a skid, and I think he's actually on the way out. Bryce Mitchell versus Charles Strangler Rosa, the Boston Strangler Rosa. Bryce Mitchell, 3-0 in the UFC. We just booked him in a fight here on our save. I'm going to go ahead and pick him to get the victory over the Boston-born Charles Rosa. Vicente Luque versus Nico Price, a fight that, for some reason, is on the ESPN Plus prelims. Ridiculous. This fight could be on an ESPN Plus fight night card, main card. But it just goes to show what a banger this entire fight card is. I'm going to go ahead and take Luque. I think he had a tough go against Wonderboy, but I think that he's still a little bit better than Nico Price. Of course, Nico Price just barely surviving James Vick with that up kick. So I think that's going to prove costly for him. I think Vicente Luque is just a little bit better than him. All right, next we have Uriah Hall in the middleweight division taking on Jacare Souza. It's crazy that this is the curtain jerker for the prelims. But I think, I honestly think Jacare Souza is going to win this one. I think Uriah Hall has had a pretty good run, but I do think Jacare just has a little bit too much experience. Either Jacare wins in dominating fashion, or his age gets to him and Uriah Hall gets the victory. But I'm going to go ahead and go for Jacare on that one. Next up, we have Carla Esparza taking on Michelle Karate Hottie Watterson. I actually think Carla Esparza is on a little bit of a hot tear. She got booed in her last fight when she won over in Mexico because she beat Alexa Grasso. I thought it was kind of poor sport on the Mexican crowd part because she had a great performance. But Michelle Watterson also coming off that performance against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She kind of got dominated the whole fight, though, and I think it's not going to be very different with Carla Esparza. I think Carla Esparza's wrestling, and then her okay stand-up is going to be enough to take care of Michelle Watterson. Up next, we have Alexei Oleinik, who we saw is like top 5 in our save for some reason. He's taking on Fabricio Verdum. I think that Alexei Oleinik is going to find a way to win somehow. He's like 42 years old, but he always finds a way to get in his favorite choke, and I think he's going to pull off a submission victory. And then finally, in the prelims, we have Anthony Pettis taking on Cowboy Cerrone. Both of these guys are kind of falling on some hard times. I've always been a big Anthony Pettis fan, and simply because of that, I'm going to go for him in this fight. I think Cowboy's kind of just, his chin has been rocked a little bit too many times, and I think Pettis is going to be able to take this one. Remember, Pettis is coming off that win over Wonder Boy, and then he ended up losing to Nate Diaz. But I think Pettis has something going for him, and I'm going to go ahead and pick him to win, even though he lost pretty recently as well. Up next, we have Yorgan De Castro, who picked up a win on the Conor McGregor card, I believe, taking on Greg Hardy. I do not know what to expect from this fight, like at all. I have zero idea what to expect. It's Greg Hardy. We don't necessarily know what exactly to really think is going to happen out of this fight, but simply because it's a heavyweight fight, I'm going to go with the guy who's a little bit more seasoned in Yorgan De Castro. He had that super huge knockout on the McGregor card, so that proves really good for him. So I'm going to go ahead and pick him over Greg Hardy, even though Greg Hardy has the physical attributes down. Up next, a pretty good match in the featherweight division. Jeremy Stephens taking on Calvin Kattar. I'm going to take Jeremy Stephens in this one. Calvin Kattar's coming off that loss to Zabit, and I just think it's going to still be stuck in his mind. Jeremy Stephens, always a very game veteran, and I think he's just going to be a little bit too much for Calvin. Up next is Francis Ngannou taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think Francis will take it. I think his physicality is just going to be a little bit too much, and then his stand-up is going to be a little bit tough to deal with for Jairzinho, considering he's going to have a huge size advantage over him. So Francis will take that one. Henry Cejudo taking on Dominic Cruz. For all intents and purposes, this fight is for the Bantamweight Championship for whatever reason. I think Henry Cejudo will come out on top. His wrestling is going to be on par. His stand-up has gotten a lot better ever since he's gotten with his new coaches. I think Henry Cejudo is going to retain his title here against a Dominic Cruz, who I'm excited to see come back, but not in a title match like this. I don't think it's the right call, probably too soon, and I just don't think he's going to be enough for Henry Cejudo. And then finally, for the lightweight interim title, the main event, Tony Ferguson taking on Justin Gaethje. It's going to be Tony Ferguson via submission in round 4. They both have really good gas tanks. I just feel like Tony's is a little bit better, and they're both going to be pressuring each other the entire fight. Someone's going to tire out, and it's probably going to be Gaethje, and that's when Ferguson is going to come in for the kill and get the submission victory. Oh boy, a lot of talking. But nonetheless, those are my thoughts for UFC 249, and I'm happy that I was able to bring you UFC 249 both here, and I'm going to be super excited when I'm able to watch it in real life. I'm super excited for this Saturday. I hope you guys enjoy the show this Saturday as well. UFC 249 is in the books. As a reminder, be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to hit the little bell on the bottom so you get all notifications when my videos do go live. I'll try to be a little bit better about letting you guys know when I am going live on Twitch. I know people really want to know about when that's going down. But as always, I do thank you guys for watching, and I thank you for your comments. Please be sure to leave some comments and let me know what you guys are thinking. UFC 249 is done. UFC 250, here we come. AZ Palau 21 is the channel name. You guys have a great rest of your night.